Hi, welcome to class. We're the only two right now, but the other ones will show up eventually, right? I hate my life. I hate my life.
And Professor Sunreis Productions!
Hello class, Professor Sunreis here. In today's class we're gonna take a look at the new deck which I was testing a lot lately. You've seen the Dueling book field studies of Dragonmaid Bystials. I've switched the deck up around and honestly, I'm pretty positive I'm gonna kick out all the Dragonmaids and just play some good old Bystial control. So without further ado, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave some feedback down below in the comment section below, and let's get right into the deck profile. So here we are in the actual profile, and a quick reason for why I think this deck is a good choice for the current format is just the amount of hate you have for T-Ishizu and the good matchup you have against Sprite because of the amount of big beat sticks you're playing. You have a very good matchup into those two decks exactly. Flunderer can be a little bit tough, but the amount of non-engine this deck can still play can definitely make it workable post the side deck. Yeah, overall a really fun deck. It takes a similar approach to the Bystial Dragon deck, just completely lowering the ceiling to the bare minimum of just Seal Pass, maybe Seal Masquerena Pass if you have a good hand. And then just switching on all of the bricks the deck plays for good defensive cards and going back to down to 40 to have a very consistent game plan. So let's get into the card by card, and a lot of will make sense afterwards. So for the starters, they play 3 Chaos Base, probably the second best card in the deck after 3 Savior. This card is completely insane with the Illubellion and Add Back, and it opens up so many good combo lines. 2 Black Metal Dragon. This is another starter. This is not as good as Savior because it doesn't combo into nice 2-card combos, but it's a very good 1-card starter into Seal, which is all we really want to do. Together with 4 defensive cards, this is insane. This also has some nice synergy with Branded Regained, and opens up some nice combo follow-up lines and just some good link climbing in general. And then lastly, 3 Rebellion. This also starts some combos by itself, and most importantly is a 1-card set up for Lights and Darks in the Grave to unclock your Bystials. And then lastly, 2 Desires. The way this deck plays, just drawing 2 cards and getting like multiple disruptions can be a starter by itself. If you have like 6 disruptions in your hand, you can just pass on that and you should be fine. So these are all the cards which make you gas up, get lots of value, and get lots of engine going for extenders of the deck. I count all of the Bystials as extenders. Magnumus is especially insane. Note that these all count as defensive cards, so if you take a look at the hand trap lineup we have, these will all come in handy. And then for bad extenders, which are more like engine requirements, I have the Chaos Dragons and the Dark Metal Dragon, not Red Eyes Dark Metal Dragon. You really don't want to draw them. They can be fine drawn if you have the setup already. For example, if you have a Chaos base, and this is still fine because you can search the Lubellion. Where is it? The Lubellion, for example. So on that department, you can definitely be fine with drawing them, but you'd rather just not draw them. And the Bystials, of course, are insane. Like I said, they are extenders. They magnum this engine by itself, basically, if you resolve it going second. And most importantly, they are disruption against the most prevalent deck right now. For the actual engine requirement of the Bystial engine, I play 2 Branded Regain and 1 Beast. Most importantly, 2 Regain because we are playing Desires, and you need to see this card. And lots of times, this kind of acts like, if hard drawn by itself, this is very good to get the full engine going, because a lot of time you cannot go for the Serenius and Branded Regain line. Oftentimes you want to send the Rebellion and add it back with the Savior, so you get the full Bystial engine going. So hard drawing this card is never a bad thing. Resolving 2 of these is insane if they remove the first one together with the Branded Beast, for example. We are not running any spell trap negates. So this, we have no real protection for this, so I really wanted to have a second one because this is way more important than Branded Beast. Branded Beast is fine to draw, but it's honestly currently it's not that strong, especially because the pop is only really good against Sprite, and we have a lot of bounces for that anyways, and we're not really lacking removal, so we don't really need this. And Branded Regain just keep summoning level 2.5k beat sticks and drawing in every turn. 2 extra cards basically. This is in after we've got into our turn, because we draw 1 in the opponent's turn, 1 in our turn for like the rest of the game. It's insane, especially with the defensive cards which we are playing. We are playing 12 hand traps, 3 Ghost Bell. This card is insane in the exactly against T-Ishizu and Sprite, because against Sprite you can negate the Swap Rock, and if they don't have a Toad, not the Swap Rock, the Elf Summon Swap Rock, and if they don't have Toad, they basically have no way of protecting themselves against your Bystials, apart from 1 Smashers or 1 Trap. And against T-Ishizu, this hits T-Elements, this hits the Bystial, this hits the Shuffler, this is everything we want. 3 Ash, 3 Imperm, and 3 Veiler. These cards are generically very good against everything, but most importantly against Fluwanderees, which I wanted. But of course, they're also good against TA Shizu, against Sprite. They get the job done. Having a good amount of generic hand traps is very important in my opinion. I'm thinking about cutting the Imperm because they just don't play as well with Bystials. They are not good if I draw into them, but they still do their job, and these could be cut for maybe in a Nibiru, for example. Maybe I will side the Nibiru in the future. I still want to do some testing with that, and I will cut these for them. It depends, but honestly, they're just so good against Flunder that I don't really want to miss them. So that's the main deck, 40 cards, like I said, very clean and cut control deck, like I like it. Play a shit ton of starters, play an appropriate amount of hand traps, a shit ton of defensive cards, and the games will just be won off the back of a very recursive engine, thanks to Magnamut and Regained. And you don't really need more, you don't need any fancy lines. I do have a fancy line, which I'm going to showcase you guys later with Link Belt Wall Dragon or something like that. I'm going to put it in here. You have some very interesting combo lines with that available to you, which are definitely something which I still want to theorize with and actually test out. But for now, I really like the clean and cookie cutter variant. For links, or for the extra deck, let's say 1 Striker Dragon, 1 Pisty, you just want some generic link ones. You could, in theory, go for Pisty lines, but not having Borrel Entering as a meaningful payoff for them, it just does not seem worth it. Maybe in the future I will play a small rocket engine. Depending on the meta, this could be something like 3 Quick Launch, 1 Tracer, 1 Recharger. Not even want to have the Fuse Bell, it's just not necessary in my opinion. And then 2 Seal. You could kick 1, but if you kick 1, the Pisty becomes unplayable. Pisty line becomes unplayable. Because you really want to have the second one available at all times then, and it just does not really work out in my opinion. 1 Masquerena, if we have a full combo, we can end on Seal Masquerena, just like Dragon Link did back then. And while it's not the most impressive end board against TA Shizu, it's insane against everything else basically, especially because the amount of follow-up you get. 1 Unicorn to go with the Masquerena, 1 Appaloosa to go with that as well. And then for generic links, a Dark, a Phoenix, and an Access Code to have like the basic, most important link stuff covered. At large, this is a link good stuff deck when it comes to the extra deck, just like Dragon Link. This is basically the Dragon Link extra deck, maybe apart from, I don't think Dark was available then, or Appaloosa was not run a lot, but they also had the rocket stuff to fill up the extra deck. So yeah, and now for the XZs. 1 Atum, I was playing the Dragonmaids, of course, where Atum was even more important. Now it rarely ever comes up unless I'm lacking a Magnamut in the grind game and I have the 2 other Bystials. Then I can go into Atum, pitch Saronir, summon Magnamut, effect Saronir, send the Nobelian, and then I can still get into my Bystial engine if I only have the 2 non-good ones, I would say. Other than that, it does not really matter too much. 1 Wallow, this card is insane. Helps OTK because it pushes all of your monsters. Attack, it is a very good disruption tool against tier elements. Honestly, a very good card. 1 M7, a very good generic XZ's monster, can get you back an Ash, for example, if you're playing against Deathbeer. It outs Empen, which is the main reason I'm playing it, because the deck does struggle a bit against that. And yeah, overall just a very good generic rank 6. And then the Zeus package, I figured because I play rank 6s and I can play the Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger, I really wanted to have a healthy amount of XZ's monsters, so I can always go into that. I would at minimum play 2 rank 6s, and I think this is mandatory, and then it becomes between those 2. But I do have the extra deck space for now because I don't really think the Pisty line is that necessary. I could play the triple burst for it and cut 1 of these. It would probably be this one. So in the future I might do that depending on the amount of times this does come up, but this does come up definitely. And the Pisty line is just a little win more. It gets you back a lot of resources, but you don't really do a lot with the resources just because the deck is so low ceiling, because we are trying to focus on the consistency. So I don't think it's necessary, 2 tokens by the way, to go for that big of an end board type of deck. So I don't think I'd run the triple burst, even though a generic Link 3 could come in handy sometimes. So for this side deck, the side deck is definitely where this deck is, where I'm still lacking. I need to do a lot of testing, but this is always the hardest part of the deck. But the main engine is definitely standing. The defensive card slots are also standing, at least the amount. You can always switch them up to your liking, to the amount of generic decks or less generic decks are at your locals, depending on the region you go into. For example, I've known in France there were a lot of Prankets players in the past, and even though it was not really the best deck at the start of the format, stuff like that, you will always want to swap out your side deck cards and your defensive cards in the main deck for the appropriate meta you are facing in the regional level you are in. And for the side deck, I am currently running 3 Talons. Really like this card, but in the main deck I really want to have the Hand Trap Poach, and I just want to use this going second to break boards, because going first, lots of times we are just passing. Not lots of times, but sometimes we are just passing because we are playing so many defensive cards. Like 21, there's plenty of them. If you don't draw a starter, we have like 13, so we have like roughly a 90% chance to see a starter. If we don't, in the 10% amount of times we don't draw a starter, we are still so much good in the game, because one resolved Magnum basically gets us into the full engine. And I really didn't want to break on talents in the main deck, but going second, I really wanted them. 3 Cosmic. I'm scared of Necro Valley, so we play these same as the 2 Lightning Storms, though this does conflict with the Bystials. This is mainly there for the Flunder matchup, where we will probably not summon a Bystial in the opponent's turn, so we are free to Lightning Storm the opponent. 3 Judgment, bad against Tia Shizu, good against everything else. I maybe want to cut this one out. And then lastly, the Gamma package to stop shifters, but most importantly, stop Flunder or Sprite. This is so good against them. I'm thinking about making Sprite players go first, if I can do that post side, because I really want to have the Gamma to stop the opponent's, the shifter. But I could brick me in game 1, in going first. So maybe the game plan against them is actually to make them go first, where you can always resolve the Gamma in either the normal summon or like any of the good plays and make them pass, or you can just stop the shifter. Both are like very good, valid options. And also the Sprite mirror, the Sprite game is so easy to break the board, especially if you make them go first and then maybe start off the swap rock, which a lot of people do, which at least I did. So you could easily snag some free wins if you go for that approach. Still have to do some testing on that, but other than that, Gamma is all if you don't even go for that one, Gamma is still insane against the hardest matchup Flunder, and like a very easy matchup, or like a rather easy matchup in Sprite. This card makes it even easier because it is also light in the dark, and in a pinch you can pitch it for chaos base. So that's it for the side deck. Like I said, main deck I'm feeling very confident. The side deck is still a little lackluster, but this needs more testing to be done. Of course, I'm thinking about maybe siding the Nibiru's for the Judgments, just because the Judgments are a little lackluster and you don't really need a dedicated going first slot in this deck. But yeah, let's get into 1 to 2 combos with this deck so you can see how this deck actually combos off. So for the first combo, I'm going to showcase you guys Safeguard plus Serenia. This is mostly where your bread and butter combos lie to. Of course, you can also use Safeguard as a 1-card, a 1-card seal, but honestly, getting your Bystial engine up is of course way more important. So we will normal summon the Safeguard, effect of the Safeguard, pitch the Serenia to search Maclamud, and then the effect of the Serenia would trigger sending the Lobelion. If you already have a Lobelion in hand, you would send the Branded Regained here to go for the full Bystial engine, but you don't need it for now. Next step is you would summon the Maclamud, banishing the Serenia, effect Maclamud in the end phase to search. Now we would link this off into a Pisty. Reason you go for Pisty over Striker Dragon here is because you can always use Striker Dragon later to get some good stuff going and are not locked into Dragon if you want to link off, and you can also revive the Pisty with the Darkness Metal Flare Dragon if you decide to somewhat get to that, and then you have you can still make some Pisty lines going for you if you really want to. So this is in the graveyard. Now you would activate it to banish it, add back the Lobelion, effect Lobelion to search the Drew's Worm or the Serenia, but mostly this would be searching Drew's Worm. Get that there. Then you would use the Lobelion in graveyard to summon itself, sending the Maclamud, effect Lobelion. You would activate either Branded Beast or Branded Regained. For simplicity's sake, let's go for the Branded Beast. I have not ultimately decided what I want to go for. Branded Beast seems like the better thing because it's a pop, it's a disruption, but honestly, Branded Regained is so broken, especially with the amount of hand traps we play. you really want to do that, honestly. Maybe if we still want to continue extending here, maybe we want to go for Masquerena because we have like a Chaos base, or we have a Dark Dragon or Wyver Burster. You would go for a Regained here if you can trigger it in this turn. Honestly, this still needs some testing. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter what we go for here because we will link this here off into a seal. And this is the reason why I don't really think Branded Beast is the best play here, because we don't immediately have value of it because we don't have a Bystial currently. And we really want to go for a seal, of course. So yeah, maybe it is a Regained, maybe it is a Beast. For now, it doesn't matter. What we do end with is an insane amount of value against basically any deck. We end with Serenia, Drew's Worm, and 3 cards in hand, plus Beast, plus Seal, for insane amount of follow-up and some decent disruption. Of course, game 1, I would probably go for the Beast, just because if we're playing against Sprite, we could be a little lackluster here, and against Tia Ishizu, where Regain probably would be better. Having 2 Bystials in our hand plus 3 more cards is pretty safe to stop the opponent from completely popping off, and we can definitely grind with them from that point onward. So this is the first basic combo with just 1 Drew's Worm and 1 Seyfried. Let's go for the full combo and see how this one would play out. So for the full combo, we have 1 Chaos Base, 1 Serenia, and 1 Lubellion. The Lubellion could also just be a Magnum or even a Drew's Worm. The Drew's Worm does not feel as clean. And we'd start out with activating Chaos Base, pitching Serenia to search our little boy Wyver Burst, and then effect Serenia would be sending a Branded Regained here because we already have the Lubellion. Now we could summon the Wyver Burst, banishing the Serenia, link this off into a Pisty again, effect Wyver Burst would be searching ourselves the Collab Serpent, summon Collab Serpent, banishing Wyver Burst. Then this is of course in Graveyard, we would activate the Chaos Base, putting the Wyver Burst at the bottom of the deck, and we would be drawing 1 card. Let's just draw 1 random here, have this here, and then we would link those off into a seal. Effect Collab Serpent, adding back the Wyver Burster. From here on, we can activate the Lubellion to summon to search ourselves a Magnemite. Effect of Magnemite, banishing. Here we want to banish the Striker Dragon, the Pisty. Effect Magnemite on field. Then we use the Lubellion in Graveyard to summon itself, tributing the Bystial, the Magnemite effect of that to activate a Branded Beast out of our deck. And from here on, we can pass. In the end phase, Magnemite would resolve, searching ourselves like usually a Drew's Worm. And then we have the Branded Beast activating to activate the Branded Regained. This is the basic end board we always want to go for in a 3-card combo. This is not the end all be all. We can extend if we have 1 more extension line. We can go into Masquerena as well. This oftentimes comes up a surprisingly amount of time actually. So what this offers is an insane amount of value and disruption, especially the value part because of how Branded Regain works in the current meta. We still have the seal bounce into anything which we want to, probably a Seyfried or Darkest Metal Dragon to get this part out of the deck, out of our deck. We have the Branded Beast popping 1, we have Branded Regain summoning 1 back, letting us draw 1, we have 1 Drew's Worm in our hand. If we have any ways of drawing into... Why this is not focusing? Okay, we have a lot of ways to draw into multiple hand traps. We already have 3 cards in our hand, so the likelihood of this being 1 to 2 hand traps or Bystials is very high, and we have just a shit ton of disruption, a medium amount of disruption, I would say, on field, but if the hand traps are good, this is a shit ton of disruption as well. But most importantly, we will always be able to keep playing because we have Branded Regain plus Seal plus the amount of cards in hand for a guaranteed follow-up. And even if all of these get stuck, we still have 1 Wyver Burster. If we are able to banish the Collab Serpent this turn, we still have a 1-card seal in our hand. So even if all of these get stuck, we can still just go into seal and try again next turn. So this is the fairest end board I would say I'm currently going for. Like I said, I have a different approach for the end board, which I'm going to showcase you guys in Dueling Book. Because I'm currently lacking the cards if this might be too fair of an end board and I keep getting crushed by tier lands, which I'm currently which is not happening to me. I have a different approach of a game plan with just 2 bricks in the main deck, or like 1 semi brick and 1 brick. to really help this end board be very unfair. So I'll see you in Dueling Book. So, like all good combos, we start off with the Safeguard plus the Serenia. This is just an insane combo. Normal summon the Safeguard, effect Safeguard, send the Serenia, and we will be searching the Link Belt Wall Dragon here. Very interesting card. Effect Serenia to send a Lubellion. Afterwards, we would link this off into a Striker Dragon. Effect of the Link Belt Wall Dragon, because we just link summoned, we can special summon this card from your hand and put 2 counters on this. Then the Safeguard will activate here in the graveyard. We banish to add back a Lubellion. Then we activate the Lubellion. We get a Magnamud from our deck. We summon the Magnamud, banishing the Serenia. Effect Magnamud in end phase, and then we go for a Lubellion here. To special itself to activate it, and we would probably get the Regained out of here or the Beast, depending on the matchup, depending on the amount of emphasis we put on one another. I'm still testing that. Honestly, the Branded Regained feels kind of better, but it's very hard. It's very hard, honestly. So from this onward, we go into a Seal, and then because we did a Link Summon, we can remove 2 counters from this card. If a monster is Link Summoned, remove 2 counters from this card. So this now has 0 counters, and then in the opponent's standby phase, this will get another counter. And no monsters can be Link Summoned unless this card is at least many of these counters as the monster's Link rating. So this has 1 counter. This means no monster can be Link Summoned with a Link rating of 2 or higher. So they can only go for Link once right now, which they are not on the meta. While of course there are not a lot of Link Summons right now. This completely stops them from anything. But most importantly, monsters cannot attack except Link monsters. Because there are basically no Link ones in the meta right now, they cannot run over our seal target of choice. So if in the probably the first action we want to do is bounce something with the seal, hopefully something from the opponent, and then trigger the effect of the seal in graveyard and summon any of the dragons which completely shut down the opponent from playing at all. It could be the Kwaikumeru, it could be any of the Sloths, of Amorphages or something like that. Of course, we also have a Bystial in our hand. We get the Druid's Worm. So that's very important. You probably want to go for a Sloth or a Morphage because I think they stopped from extra deck summon. So then you can still use the Branded Regained to plus in the opponent's turn, and then afterwards you can just tribute summon over the Sloth or the Goliath with the Druid's Worm or something like that. The opponent cannot run over it. They cannot link summon it. Because they, of course, cannot summon, but they cannot preemptively Link Summon into a Link 1 to run over because there basically are no Link 1s, and the Link 2 cannot be built because of the Link Belt Wall Dragon. This feels like a very interesting approach for the list. It's 2 bricks, or more or less bricks. I guess the Link Belt Dragon could be counted as an extender, because you can just use this to extend if you have any of the starters. But honestly, this is a very interesting line of combo, very random card which I found. I was just looking for level 6's Dragon because they are so searchable by Safeguard. This is very interesting. I think if this was a light or a dark, I would probably run it just because I can always discard it for Chaos Base. Or in theory, you can discard it for Safeguard as well to just search any of the Bystials. I've tested this as a one-off, and the problem is the Safeguard Serenia combo itself just doesn't come up enough for me to warrant running this. You would probably need to run more of it, and then it just becomes a little weird, because this is kind of bricky. So maybe if I play test a little more, maybe I play 2 of these, because feels so broken as an end board, because the opponent has basically no way of playing, and afterwards you can just do your normal things, and even if they are playing tier elements and they're playing Huffness stuff in your turn, you will have so much value of the Branded Regained which you got. You will always have a Bystial in hand, so they basically have to have 2 lines of play in your turn to be able to compete at all for the board. Very interesting approach. Honestly, I'm not too sure if you want to go for that route because I tested it and the combo itself doesn't come up nearly enough to warrant the amount of main deck space you have to use for it. But maybe after testing, I figured out that this deck itself is too fair of an end board because we are just relying mostly on hand traps and the Bystials to do the dirty work for us. So maybe something like this is mandatory for us to play. A lot of testing will determine that. Dueling Book field studies are open to a lot of testing right now. I'm gonna record 1 episode today. I hopefully do that because I'm feeling a little bit stuffy in here, feeling a little bit ill. So I don't want to put too much pressure on my beautiful I don't know what's it even called in English. My voice. Yeah, my voice. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile of this Bystial Control. Not so Dragonmaid anymore. The Dragonmaids could be played as well. I've not gone on to that subject. But they are just a little bit too bricky. But Tidying is an insane card. I think if Shizu was not as prevalent in the meta, I would be playing the Dragonmaids. If Nibiru was more prevalent, I would probably also play them. Hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile, like I said. Stay tuned for more amazing Bystial Control gameplay and theory behind that deck, and maybe some replay analysis with it. And also, feel free to send me your own replay analyses. The email should be down on the link below. If the email doesn't work, let me know, because in the giveaway, the email didn't work. But honestly, I don't see why it shouldn't work, because this is my email for this channel. Anyways, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Class is dismissed. Professor Sunreis out. Peace.